The astrology this week is kind of a mixed bag. There is some more intense stuff that is very, very apparent, and then there are some aspects and energies that are much more subtle. So let's get into the astrology for this week. We have a few to get into. Let's get started. So the first aspect that we have is October 13th, which is Venus being in Sagittarius as of the 7th, being in sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. So a sextile is when two planetary bodies are two signs apart. So Venus in Sagittarius and Saturn in Aquarius. Sagittarius and Aquarius are two signs apart from each other. So these two planets are making a sextile by degree. What a sextile does is it essentially gives us an opportunity, but it's something that we have to work for. It's an opportunity that we've earned, and by seizing the opportunity is when we actually achieve some growth. So with Venus having just left Scorpio, this very fixed and watery sign, and Venus rules our relationships, it rules our values, it rules the way that we physically feel in our bodies, our physical satisfaction, the way that we view ourselves, our appearances, how we feel about our looks, how we feel about our relationships. It's that all receptive energy of being able to have this internal feeling. And so it having been in Scorpio may have allowed us to internalize a lot of the emotion that we were feeling. Having it go into Sagittarius, which is a much more optimistic, joyful, exciting, open to new experiences energy, our shift from this sort of darker, heavier placement, especially with all the Libra that we were having, the focus on relationships was so heavy, and then Venus, the planet of relationships, was in this really heavy sign, where maybe there was some really deep healing in your relationships, but I think for many of us, there was a heaviness when it came to how we viewed our relationships, or how we viewed our role in those relationships. And so what's great about Venus being in Sagittarius is we still have all these Libra placements, which means that we've done some healing, and now we get to enjoy the lightness. This is an immutable sign now, so there's almost a happier energy to adjust and to shift, whereas fixed likes to stay exactly where it is. So it being in sextile with Saturn shows that there may be some opportunities where we felt restricted before, especially in Aquarius, which is another sign of new experiences. You know, Aquarius likes to try different things. It likes to be innovative and quirky. It's the oddball of the zodiac signs. And so Venus in Sagittarius, craving this freedom, craving some excitement, something new, maybe some travel, maybe some new forms of communication. And then Saturn in Aquarius of finding your community of like-minded people, of trying something exciting and innovative and new that maybe nobody's ever tried before. There's a real opportunity here on October 13th to try something new and to be open to it. Aquarius is still fixed, and Saturn is in Aquarius for 2.5 years, so we're getting comfortable with this energy. But Venus in Sagittarius is affecting it in this light way, in this exciting way, in this why not way, right? That's so mutable. Why not try it? So that's that sextile on October 13th. Allow the new experiences to come in, even if they seem odd, even if they seem like, oh, I would never be interested in that. Allow these new experiences to shift to the way that you view your relationships, shift the way that you expect your relationships to be. Maybe you were really comfortable in that Venus-Scorpio time where it was fixed and you like to stay fixed. You like your set things. And so Venus in Sagittarius might be a little uncomfortable for you because it's going to take you out of the comfort zone. It's going to ask you to look at the new, to communicate in new ways, to meet different people, people who are very different from you, people that are very wacky and odd and just plain weird, but they're like-minded. They're like you, just in different ways. So opening up your horizons to the new people that show up in your life. So then on October 15th, we have a very exciting Sun trine to Jupiter. So a trine is when two planetary bodies are 4 signs apart, which means that they're in the same element. So the Sun is in Libra, which is an air sign, and Jupiter is in Aquarius, which is another air sign. So they're making a trine by aspect to each other, and it's basically a triangle. And what a trine does for us is it's very similar to a sextile. However, there needs to be more consciousness to use the energy. There's like way more ease in the energy, that they're flowing really well together, but because there's such an ease, it may be difficult for us to recognize just how lucky that is. We may not recognize the gratitude that we should have for this moment. So the sun being in trine with Jupiter, this is a really fantastic time to finally express yourself. The sun rules Leo, which rules expression, it rules the matters of the heart. We're really dealing with that, and it's in Libra, the sign of our relationships, the sign of partnerships, the sign of being fair, being just. So really expressing your side of what you think is fair and just and correct. And it's trine Jupiter in Aquarius in hopes that progress will be made. We still have that Aquarius energy of, yes, earlier I said it was the wacky oddball, but it's also about that innovation, about making progress for the betterment of humanity. It's a very humanitarian sign. So the sun being in trine with Jupiter, it's asking us to really express what's in our hearts regarding our people, regarding relationships, regarding your sense of fairness. And with Libra, there is a tendency to maybe lose sight of the self because we're so focused on pleasing everybody else. There's sort of a tendency to people please with Libra. So it being trine Jupiter in Aquarius, there's a need to break the mold and make some waves. It's uncomfortable for Libra to make some waves, but there's some lessons that Libra needs to learn, that sometimes you have to pick your battles. So Sun trine Jupiter isn't just about picking your battles. It could also just be about a really good time to express yourself, about your views on society. I feel like this is a great artist aspect because you're able to really portray what you are trying to say, what your heart has to say. This is a time of really believing in what you are capable of doing and expanding your beliefs of what your faith means as well, because Jupiter does rule your faith, your belief, your spirituality, the higher education, the higher spirits. So expanding on what that means to you. And the veil is thinning. I'm sure, as everybody knows, October is the month because the sun goes into Scorpio and we have this veil that's thinning. So this is a good preparation for that, to really expand on what your faith means to you, how you use spirituality in your life, how it fills your heart, how it makes you feel validated in your experiences, how you feel loved by your faith or by yourself. There's an allowance for expansion here, because earlier we had that Sagittarius energy. Jupiter is in Aquarius, so there's just this really big shift into broadening your horizons. And with this day in particular, October 15th, those horizons are ones of your faith, your spirituality, your expression, your views on humanity, on society. So use this day very, very wisely and make sure not to take it for granted. Sometimes trines are forgotten about because they're just such an easy flow of energy. So use that flow of energy. Okay, so October 16th is the doozy of the week. We have Mercury, Venus, and Chiron all making aspects with each other. They're all kind of forming this relationship with each other. The good news is they are all working together. The bad news is that Mercury is retrograde. This is very internalized. So if you are uncomfortable dealing with the themes of your wounds or your traumas, this day in particular, and the days leading up to it and after, may be very triggering for you. It may be very difficult for you to communicate or to express your experiences in a way that feels accurate. Mercury is in sextile with Venus, and it is opposite Chiron, which also means that Venus is trine Chiron. So these three planets are all in positive aspects, what we call, because they're working together, there's opportunities, there's an ease of energies. However, if you are not willing or open to the healing that can occur here, this will be somewhat difficult, or it could be very easy to ignore these energies. Venus is playing the middleman between Mercury and Chiron. So it's trying to figure out the best way to heal. It's in Sagittarius, which is open to viewing the other way of seeing things, the more foreign way. And so it is willing to work with both Mercury, the communicator, and with Chiron, the wounded healer. It is working with both sides on how to process our sensitivities and bring harmony to the situation. Mercury and Chiron are kind of having a standoff as to how to internalize the pain the best. Because Mercury is retrograde, it takes a lot of reflection to truly understand the information that's being given to you. And Chiron is also retrograde, and it's in Aries of I am, of my identity. So I'd be really curious to see where transiting Chiron is in your chart right now. So where Aries is in your chart, because this is likely where you're feeling triggered. And this is likely where you are able to help others very, very well, but there seems to be difficulty in understanding how this area of your life plays into your identity and the willingness to be courageous and brave and take action. If you are willing to speak your truth about your pain, especially in relationships, this time is going to be deeply healing. And if you feel like you can't deal with it right now, Mercury will be hitting this spot again, because when it goes direct on the 18th of October, it will be going back over this spot. The aspects won't all be there, but it will be going over this spot, and it will remember the energies that you were dealing with at this time. Luckily, because it's near the end of the retrograde, it won't be going on for too long, so you probably have like a week and a half span that there will be an opportunity to bring it back up. But I would highly suggest, if you feel safe, if you feel comfortable, to deal with those triggers and move through them. I believe truly that there's a capability in all of us to breathe through the pain, to inhale this positivity and feel where in your body this pain is happening. And as you exhale, to imagine it coming straight out and going out into the universe, and the universe knows how to deal with that energy.
Hey, editing Mimi here, and I realized that my friend is actually leading a breathwork workshop. If you are interested in that, feel free to DM me on Instagram at mimis.me, or you can comment below if you want to get some information on that breathwork workshop. I'm very excited about it. She knows what she's doing, and it's going to be deeply healing. And it's actually the day before this aspect, so it works very, very well with the astrology. So let me know.
Seriously, this day, October 16th, is a day where you may be feeling a lot of inner turmoil or conflict. And if you feel like it's towards really mundane things or your day-to-day rituals, first off, maybe this is going on in your 6th house. Know that this anxiety, this bubbling up that's happening in you, is part of something much larger. And if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to look at the shadow side of it, then there's some really deep healing that could be coming your way. I truly believe this Mercury retrograde was a really fantastic one for reflecting on our relationships and seeing our roles in our relationships, what roles we do want to take, what roles that we don't want to take anymore, what roles we would like to bring on to others, maybe ask others to take on some more responsibility, or ask others to not coddle you so much. There was so much that could go on during this time, and Mercury retrograde is almost over. I know people have a tendency to be very afraid of Mercury retrograde, but I really think that this is a wonderful time to sit back. You know, we're all in such a move, move, move culture. We have to hustle, we have to grind. Whereas Mercury retrograde asks us to sit back and reflect for some time. So to really use that energy, and any aspect in astrology is an opportunity for us to grow and to evolve. So using Mercury retrograde for our evolution is really the best option that we have here. Mercury being in sextile with Venus and being opposite Chiron, we're just going to look at Mercury here. So Mercury is in Libra. It wants to communicate. It wants to let out the fairness. It also wants to see both sides. It wants to collect information from both sides so that it can make a truly educated decision. And it's in sextile with Venus in Sagittarius. So both of these signs are really good at seeing the larger point of view. Libra is great at seeing both sides, like I said, and Sagittarius is great for the bigger picture. picture. So these two are really working well together, Venus and Mercury. Because Mercury is the information collector, it can be a little logical, it can be a little analytical. And Venus is this feeler, right? It is the Mother Earth, it is the mother figure. So it's this very receptive energy. And I try to keep away from the genders just because there is no masculine or feminine planet. It's just receptive, or it's positive and outgoing, and there's no gender assigned to them. But anyway, I digress. Venus is trying to feel out the bigger picture. So there is this working together. There are opportunities for you to collect information and then to feel what feels right. Then we've got Mercury opposite Chiron. There's a pull. So the willingness to see both sides is fantastic. But Chiron is in Aries, and Aries tends to see its own side, and it fights for its own side. It's independent and it's courageous in that willingness to fight for its own side. So there's going to be this push and pull of what you wish to fight for and how your traumas have affected your ability to fight for yourself. And so those triggers might come up for you, feeling like perhaps a pushover, or feeling like you're always steamrolling everybody, right? Those are the two sides of it, and it's along the spectrum there. And so then we have Venus trine Chiron. Chiron being in Aries and Venus being in Sagittarius. They are both in fire signs, so they make a trine to each other by degree. I genuinely feel like this could be a very empowering moment for Chiron to say, I have power within myself, within my identity, and Venus giving us that lightheartedness, that joyfulness in our relationships. I really think there's an amazing opportunity here to let go of that heaviness and instead to feel empowered and courageous and know what is right and be able to communicate that effectively, first to ourselves, because we do have these retrograde planets, to really believe that within ourselves rather than just saying it. You know, that fake it till you make it works, but I think right now, for Mercury being retrograde, you have to believe it within yourself, really and truly. So that is the upcoming week in astrology. It starts off pretty light, fairly simple, but know that where this all happens in your chart affects you as an individual very differently. So let me know which of these aspects you are excited for the most, or maybe a little bit more nervous about. Let me know in the comments below where Chiron is, transiting Chiron is in your chart right now. So that would be where Aries is in your circle chart, because that's most likely where you need to accept your individuality, your courage, your braveness. I really hope that this has been helpful for you. Let me know. Again, I'm very open to feedback because I am new to these astrology videos. Let me know how this format worked for you, what you'd like to see, what maybe you don't want to see so much of. I'm sending you guys so much love for this upcoming week, and I will see you next time. Bye!